Making gin is a pretty exacting process, with many steps to ensure the final product is up to scratch. If you want to distill top-quality gin, it's important to understand the ins and outs of this process. We have put together a handy guide below to show you the main steps in gin distillation. So, the first thing is to add the fermented liquid, which contains alcohol, to the pot. This fermented liquid could be made from wort or grain-in mash. Then switch on the steam supply of the still. The steam supply pressure is usually set at 1 bar to 1.2 bar. Adjust the steam supply to maintain the temperature in the pot at 85 to 90 degrees Celsius. When alcohol and water vapor are both evaporating at once, the vapor from the pot is further condensed and more finely separated through the swan neck, line arm, and steam pipe, and then enters the column from the bottom. Connect the refrigerant of the deflegmator for forced reflux, and keep the condensate temperature in the column between 85 and 90 degrees Celsius. You can use tap water or cold water, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, as your refrigerant, and goes up through each layer of trays from the bottom up. It has to go through the water seal on the tray, because the temperature of the condensed water seal is about 85 degrees Celsius. Alcohol vapor can continue to evaporate and flow up a bit, while water vapor stays in the water seal layer. The water that's condensed by the deflegmator flows from the upper tray of the column layer by layer, forming a water seal on each tray. You'll need to control the opening of the liquid drop valve of each tray to keep the condensate on each tray at a balanced and reasonable water level. Just to let you know, the water level should be between 5 and 15 millimeters above the bubble caps. Note, the water seal shouldn't be too high. If it's too high, it means there's too much condensate in the deflegmator. So you need to reduce the amount of refrigerant connected to the deflegmator. If it's below the gap of the bubble cap, the vapor at the bottom won't be able to pass through the sealing layer and will directly overflow, which means the water vapor won't be separated. The column will be adjusted to achieve a dynamic balance of upward evaporation flow of vapor and downward reflux of condensed water cooled by the refrigerant of the deflegmator. It's important to keep the refrigerant and heating supplies stable. Over-adjustment can mess up this balance. Once the alcohol vapor has passed through the column, it can enter the gin basket. Various flavor substances placed in the gin basket will give the alcohol a better flavor. One example of a flavor substance is juniper berries. The alcohol vapor with a botanical aroma is introduced to the condenser, where the vapor is cooled and condensed into a liquid, results in the formation of a liquid alcohol with a botanical aroma. Turn on the condenser refrigerant in advance, and gradually adjust to keep the condensed alcohol outlet at around 20 degrees Celsius. 20 degrees Celsius is about the best temperature to use when you're measuring the alcohol content and trying to stop evaporation. You can use cooled water, around 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, as the refrigerant. You can also use it if the tap water is cold enough, but don't use refrigerant above 12 degrees Celsius. The alcohol vapor, which also contains water vapor, flows through the condenser. The condensed alcohol vapor flows into the alcohol outlet through an accessory like a parrot's beak, and equipped with a glass cover on it to keep the alcohol from evaporating. Usually, there are 3 alcohol levels based on the alcohol meter in the parrot, with readings of between 70 and 100 degrees, 30 and 70 degrees, and 0 and 30 degrees. At the beginning of distillation, the alcohol content is higher, which is called head, because it contains a lot of aldehydes. It needs to flow into the head storage tank when the alcohol content reaches 74 degrees. It's time to start collecting the heart of the spirits. The alcohol is pretty pure at this point. Open the valve and guide the heart storage tank. If the alcohol content is below 62 degrees, you can switch over the valve so that the alcohol goes into the tail storage tank. This is because the alcohol contains more fusel alcohols at this stage. Note, the switch point is adjusted according to your recipe. Mix the head and tails into the next batch wash for distillation, and we collect the heart to age it further. Final, leave it to time.